Hey, this is Steve Bloom, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek Unlimited.
Hello, and welcome to Altered Geek Unleashed. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips. Joining me this week are...
Michael Boothninja Powers.
And a newcomer to the show,
Mighty Tim Costello.
What's going on?
Not too much. Just
Since you're new, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it's fine.
Jumping ahead of myself there. I'm Tim Costello, Mighty_Tim on Twitter, and like Steve said, I'm a newcomer and happy to be here.
Glad to have you. So what has been going on with you guys?
Oh, just trying to catch up on all my TV shows before the fall season, getting amped up for that, and all the movies that are coming out here in the next few months.
Yeah, that's getting caught up on TV, starting new TV shows, and I've actually fallen back down the rabbit hole that is Destiny. That's why I was late today. Totally got caught up in that.
I think everyone's falling down that rabbit hole lately.
Well, I gave it up for 10 months because I thought and still partially think that game is a huge pile of garbage. But Taken King, the Taken King stuff has been fantastic.
Nice.
I've said this before on my other show. My wife and I traded in our copies of Destiny and then a couple of other games, so we were essentially able to get the Legendary Edition for quote-unquote free. And so we were able to finally play through all of the expansions that were part of like the season pass and stuff. And we did that stuff before we started doing the Taken King, and because we wanted to play the story in quote-unquote story in order. And we're playing with a buddy, and we ended up getting through the two expansions that they wanted people to pay $35 for. We got through like the story stuff in those two expansions in like 2 hours. And we were just kind of like, well, I'm glad we didn't pay for that. So our expectations were like super low going into the Taken King, but it's Taken King is pretty much what I wanted Destiny to be from the get-go. So we're really enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm not too big a gamer myself, so but I hear the new one's good.
Yeah, it's got the. I mean, there are cutscenes, which the main game of Destiny lacked. So there are cutscenes for actually telling a story. There's humor. The characters that were like very like one dimensional in Destiny are still present, but they've given them something to do or some things to say. So it's a lot more fun to be in that world as far as the Taken King content goes. I know they made a lot of changes to the main game. It's like if you start from the beginning, but going back through and playing some of those missions, it's weird that some of the changes that they made are kind of weird. It's like they removed a lot of the padding that was in those missions. So they're over in like a third of the time that it would normally take to complete a mission. So to me, that seems like a really interesting choice to go and remove that stuff, because it's like, well, now you're showing people that there was nothing there in the first place. But I don't know. So yeah, I've just fallen down that rabbit hole again.
Well, I've been catching up on Heroes, obviously, because Heroes Reborn. I did not get a chance to watch it before recording because we were just finishing the season.
Which one?
The finale.
Of the last season.
Of season 4, or whatever they call it.
Nice.
The where it goes Brave New World, and then Claire
Ends.
dives off the pedestal.
Right,
Dives
right,
off the
right.
pedestal and then into Nashville.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Well,
She fell so hard she went into the country town.
That's right. Well, I remember, after it got canceled, that they were actually talking about, a TV movie or a miniseries to wrap it up way back then. And there was a lot of talk that they were going to answer all the questions and do all that stuff. And yet here we are 5 years later. Or 5 years gone, I should say.
And we still might not get that stuff because it is Heroes after all.
It is true. It is true. We'll talk about this later, I'm sure, but I'm a little trepidatious about Heroes Reborn, just because, like you say, because it's Heroes. Because it doesn't seem like they got a lot of the main cast, because a lot of them are super, super busy. But it could be good. We'll see how it goes.
I'm kind of leaning towards that they're going to do something fairly decent with this, being that one, the studio and the show creator kind of wanted to do the 13 episode format.
Sure.
Which will lead to actually more pointed episodes, like Mike and I have talked in the past, minus all the filler garbage. Because literally, we were watching the 4th season of Heroes, and I think we were on episode 14 or something out of 18. And I was talking to my wife, and I said, honestly, I said we could skip to the last episode of the season, and we wouldn't be missing much. And literally, we didn't miss anything.
Yeah. It's a weird season.
So, because the sad thing was I was telling her about what I thought we were missing during those episodes, but it was everything that was happening in the last episode of the season. So it was kind of, I didn't really know what we were missing, but it obviously wasn't important enough to recall.
Right.
But yeah, we've got to watch the mini-series stuff that was on the app and the YouTube thing that kind of takes place between. Kind of setting up some of the ground between Heroes and Heroes Reborn.
I watched that. I watched that when that came out, and it's just pretty good. It's pretty good. I felt like I because I was gonna do what you guys are doing, rewatching the show from the beginning, but it was just too much. So I just watched that. And I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Well, see, I hadn't seen the series in a while, and granted, I remember a lot of it.
Right.
I have this photographic memory of TV shows, but I can't remember what time my wife goes to work. So, it's really weird. But anyways,
It's called
she
being a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She couldn't remember anything to the series, but she can remember all the details. So she rewatched the show with me, and we're to the point of watching that little mini series I haven't downloaded on my flash drive, and then we're gonna watch Heroes Reborn later in the weekend. Among other shows, because obviously Continuum's back, and for its 6th episode run of the final season, she's like, I don't remember anything from that show. I says, well, it's only got 6 episodes left, so. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Heroes. That's I've kind of read a little bit on the gist of how some of the characters are coming into play, and I know how many episodes each one shows up. But they wrote it as a beginning, middle, end type event series, so that honestly, it's probably no different than like the 24 revival and the X-Files revival.
Right.
Just, they're set up for that amount of episodes, and then if they get picked up for more, they'll continue more. If not, it will just sit right where it leaves.
That's probably the best way to go about that kind of thing, because I haven't seen any of the other revivals because I wasn't a huge 24 guy. But I think the 13 episode format is definitely gonna help the show not meander a bit, because actually I really liked that for the season 2, the volume 2 thing they did, because they had that's when they started doing like multiple volumes per season, or when they were going to start doing it, and I really liked that for that conciseness. So hopefully we'll follow suit this time around. That's what I'm hoping anyway.
Yep. So actually, starting next week, I'm going to, and for those that want to watch it and would like to be a part of the discussion of it, we could bring that up in the show and kind of talk about it week to week as it airs, or the following week, because obviously it records the same night as the show.
I have to try and make time for Heroes. I know I will. I just have to. I don't know. My TV watching is all up in the air right now.
I find it easier to pick it up, being that it's 13 episodes, rather than, for instance, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that. I'll probably end up watching, but it's going to be when they're on winter break. I'm going to bulk watch them.
Yeah, I think I might take with Heroes. I might take the stance that I took with like True Detective and some other HBO series, and just like wait for the entire run to be done,
and then marathon it.
Yeah,
that might be better.
That's what I did with Game of Thrones this year. Because I just didn't have time to watch it when it was on. I don't know if any of you guys watched that. Who doesn't?
I don't.
I stopped.
Okay. All right. Anyway, but that's how I watched it this past couple weeks, and because it was on demand finally, and so I was able to watch it that way, and I actually liked watching it that way as opposed to week. So.
Yeah, I liked. I know there were a lot of people that were like, True Detective is not good this season. I waited until it was all over to watch it.
Right.
And I thought it was fine. I mean, but my thing with True Detective was, I'm wondering for how many people was that their first anthology series? Because
right.
I think they were expecting something to be like season 1, and it wasn't. That's not what an anthology series is.
Well, so. It's funny you should talk about anthology series, is because that's what Heroes was originally envisioned as. Like Tim
and that's
Kring,
why it failed.
Yeah, well,
because they didn't do that.
Well, see, yeah, because Tim Kring was going to cycle a new cast every year, but when people heard he was going to do that, they're like, "No, you can't do that. Everybody loves these characters."
Yep,
like,
we talked about that. But yeah, I'm glad somebody else heard that too.
Yeah, well, what they should have done is what they're approaching with this series is each season they can take some of the old cast and have them in a very, very limited role. Just as the story fits them actually entering in, but not actually focusing on them.
Right, which is what they were going to do with season 2. Like, they were going to bring back, a couple people. Like, they were going to bring back 3 or 4 people a season, from the original cast. But the network found out they were going to do that. But then they were trying to force stories upon each and every main character, which is why you got the revisit of the Yata every season, which was forced and redundant.
Well, it's all. I mean, the other thing too is I'm pretty sure they weren't expecting fans to latch onto the characters that way.
Yeah, because that never happens.
I mean, well, I think it might be kind of different, like a little bit tougher to do with superheroes, maybe, than it is to do with like just generic characters like they do with American Horror Story.
Right.
Like I like, like you could be like, I like the cheerleader that's basically like a female Wolverine. And so, I mean, it's a cheerleader and it's a female and she's got the powers of Wolverine. What's not to like? And so let's bring her back. So,
well, they explained how she ain't coming back.
Well, I know. I mean, I'm talking about like early on, like
yeah,
when they were going to go with the anthology thing and people latched onto the characters and they couldn't do away with them because they'd lose their fan base.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, I think the approach they're going now, I think, is a lot better than the approach they took the first time around.
Well, we might get some payoff too because they might be able to afford better special effects.
From what I've seen of just even some of the preview stuff, it looks pretty good. I mean, compared to the original.
Yeah, but is that just like?
I mean, it could be doctored up. Who knows?
Like, well, could that also be just special effects have come a little ways in 5 years for TV, or I mean,
it's probably a combination.
Might also be the fact that they have a higher budget doing less episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still one of the ones that's butthurt that we never got to see Peter and Siler actually go at it.
Oh, I know, they became buddies at the end.
Oh, I hated that so much.
I hated that they neutered Peter.
I didn't. I hated Peter.
I didn't mind Peter, but I hated him after they
Took away
they
his
took
powers.
his powers. Yep, and he could only do the one at a time thing. That's when I hated him.
Yeah. Well, it was just so stupid. It's just like the Superman dilemma. No one can relate to Superman because he has got so many powers. And they kind of started. They were doing that with Hero as well. And
Well, they fixed him even by the end.
yeah, and even season 3 is just a freaking mess. I mean, they neutered Sylar, they neutered Peter, they tried to make Hero all kitty. I mean, just it was a bad season. Bad season.
And then the carnival was just a wreck.
Oh boy. But Claire did not whine one bit during that season, if I recall.
Yeah, well, they also forgot that after they killed Nathan, all of a sudden Sylar could fly,
Yeah.
which shouldn't have been possible. And I was like, did somebody forget that that's not one of the powers he has?
I like Sylar. Sylar can do whatever he wants as far as.
Well, I mean, I like Sylar too, but I mean, I chalked it up for the fact that the whole season's bad writing, but
Yeah.
I also kind of insinuated that maybe in Nathan's like near-death experience, and then when he died, he absorbed it.
Which season was a casualty of the writer's strike?
That was 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
3, I don't know what the hell they were thinking, and then 4, it was like bad rating everywhere.
Yeah, 3. I mean, 4 is not bad. I mean, it's bad, but it's not as bad as 3. 3 is just all over the place.
I prefer 3 over 4, but that's just because the carnival was kind of a mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the whole series didn't really have much of a payoff by the end. It was kind of like, okay, this is great. So
it's just like that Big Bang Theory episode where where Sheldon is explaining that that fans need closure before their TV show ends, and he talks about Firefly being wrapped up with Serenity, Buffy being wrapped up with a comic book, and that Hero is gradually decaying quality that we just didn't care when it ended. So that's basically what happened. At least that's what I like to think.
Pretty much.
But yeah, it was just a rough run.
Yep. So, should we move on to the 10-minute blitz? Unless you guys have something else you'd like to bring up.
Just real quick, since we're just talking about TV, and I haven't really talked about this on a podcast yet. My wife and I started watching the TV show Community.
How's that?
To me, it's amazing.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if either of you have seen it or have had like an inclination to check it out. But it's to me, it's kind of like a I don't know. This is gonna be kind of a weird comparison here. Okay, so in jumping track here, like Lost. The island in Lost was just a vehicle for the writers to tell whatever stories they wanted to be able to tell. In Community, the community college backdrop is just a background for the writers to be able to tell whatever story they want to tell. So like a lot of the stuff has to do with like, yeah, they're in college dealing with like, fundraising activities here and there and stuff like that. But every once in a while it's broken up with like, you have like the odd Christmas special where they're all like claymation or the puppets.
I saw the G.I. Joe one.
I haven't seen that one yet.
I only watched it because I thought it looked funny, but that they converted it and did the actual G.I. Joe animation. And
they do a healthy amount of paintball episodes, which are fantastic.
Josh Holloway's in one, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He's in the Western paintball episode.
Nice. I've had an inclination to watch the show, and I watched like the first few episodes, and it was fine. I just because I was so busy with other things I was watching, other things I was doing. I just lost track. I do want to watch it because I know that the Russo brothers, who directed Captain America: The Winter Soldier, have directed quite a few episodes, and I want to see those.
Yeah, they're executive producers and directors for that series. So
nice.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to check it out too. Also, my wife and I, we marathon Parks and Rec. And for some reason in my head, I thought Community was like Parks and Rec. I thought Community was like the same style, but it's like instead of it being like the staff of a Parks and Rec department, it was going to be the staff of a community college. And
I could see that being funny too. I actually want to see that show now.
But it's not that. I mean,
Right.
It does involve the staff. The staff is involved in Community, but it's not not that. And it was in my head whenever my wife and I would watch Parks and Rec. I would always say, "Hey, do you want to watch Community Parks and Rec?" So by the time we were done watching Parks and Rec, which was a good show, I prefer Community over Parks and Rec. But by the time we were done, we were trying to find something else, and I was like, "Oh, let's check out Community." And luckily, it's turned out to be something quite fun. And I can totally see why people wanted Donald Glover to be Spider-Man. But that's a different story.
No, I definitely want to check out the series. But where can it be watched?
All 5 seasons of it are on Hulu.
Okay.
The 6th season was produced by Yahoo.
Yeah.
So I think it's only available on Yahoo streaming.
It's just
Unless you like get it other ways.
Right. And I when I heard about them bringing back Community 6th season through Yahoo, it just seemed like why Yahoo to do a TV show revival? It just seemed a little out of left field to me.
Well, it wasn't really a revival. It was NBC didn't want to do a 6th season, but the fans wanted it. The writers and all the staff was contractually obligated for a 6th season. So they did a fair amount of shopping and around. And to me, it's weirder that Hulu didn't try to pick it up.
Yeah.
Given that they have the other 5 seasons. But I mean, weirder things have happened. We all just saw what happened with Hannibal in Amazon, and The Tick and other stupid things. But no, I'm really enjoying it. The other thing too, because we were watching this, is have you guys heard that Hulu offered a commercial-free subscription service?
Yeah, I heard something about that.
We
really
signed
great.
up. Yeah, we signed up for it, and it's like I've liked Hulu, but I've always despised the commercials.
Yes.
But now that I've subscribed to the version that doesn't have commercials, it's amazing.
It really is. And I also have that service, and I'm so used to, after they show, this is the show you're watching, it's on this day and this time, that little logo thing they have at the beginning of each one.
Yep.
And then it just goes right into it. I'm like, oh wow, yeah, there's not an ad. That's awesome.
I can't check my phone. What's wrong? What is this?
Yeah, I know. No, but it's great. It's great.
Now, just real quick, so no one's jumping in the comments and ramming it down our throats. There are certain episodes or TV shows on Hulu still that will have commercials in them.
Now,
they seem to be ABC series.
well, that's weird because I watched the new Muppets show, which is great and awesome, and everyone should watch it on Hulu, and that's an ABC show. And
Well, I
no commercials on that.
when I say I think it's primarily ABC shows. I don't think it's all of them. There's a short little list when you go to sign up for it. They'll be like, yeah, it's commercial free except for like Castle and something.
The popular shows.
Yeah, and I think Marvel, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will have, but I think those ones only have commercials at the beginning and the end, not in the middle, which I'm okay with that. So, but they're upfront about it. They tell you right when you're like switching your service. It's like there are still going to be commercials on these shows. Right. So, but yeah, no, it's completely like changed everything. It makes it so much nicer to just watch stuff on that service. Plus, I don't feel the need to go buy stuff after I'm done watching an episode. So,
and that's always a plus.
I just wanted to give a shout out to the TV show Community. So,
yeah, I haven't seen it other than 2 episodes, the beginning one and that G.I. Joe one. I may eventually check it out. I just haven't.
It's very it's like chock full of like pop culture references, and it's just a lot of fun. So
Good to know. Alrighty, I'm going to take a quick pause and come back with the Blitz.
10-minute blitz.
10-minute blitz.
10-minute blitz. 10-minute blitz.
And we're back with the 10-minute Blitz. This one's going to be a little weird with 8 stories, so they're going to be about a minute 20 apiece, roughly. So, getting right down to it, starting the first timer. Continuing its slow transition into a tech mall, Best Buy is having Verizon and AT&T mini stores, and 250 of them.
The one here in Flint actually has both of them. So I don't know. I like this. It's weird when you walk into a Best Buy and there's no aisles anymore. It's just like little sections of the store boarded off with different companies. But I mean, it makes it a lot easier to find what you're looking for, I think, unless you're going there for movies.
And even that's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, going on a tangent here, but I mean, Best Buy is just, it's almost like technology just pooped in there or something. It just is so discombobulated.
I do like Best Buy. I just hate going in there when there's like people like trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
Which is almost all the time anymore.
I always feel like a jerk because I try to shoo them away by like, especially like the DirecTV guys are like, hey, what do you have? And I tell them exactly what I have and how much I'm paying. And they're like, well, we can't beat that.
I know. I get that all the time.
All right. Well, when you can, we'll have a conversation.
Yeah, so. I think I agree with the tech mall thing. Just sometimes sometimes it gets hard to find what you're looking for if it's all mixed into a separate area.
Real quick too, it also throws off the flow of the store. Like the AT&T one they just put in at the Best Buy is right in the middle of the main aisle.
That's weird.
That's stupid.
That sounds retarded.
Next one, we have the White House says that broadband is a core utility as much as power and water. Would you tend to agree with that?
Yes, but they said this months ago when it was when the FCC reclassified broadband as a utility.
Right around the same time they did the 25 megabyte
minimum. Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't it 50?
I think it's 25 now. I think because it used to be like 6.
Yeah.
And they redubbed it 25. And
yeah.
Since we upgraded our Comcast, because we went from no cable to basic cable and from 25 megabyte internet to the 50, which consequently gets up to 75 now.
Yeah, the 105 goes to 150, so.
They do have 2 gigabit coming.
Yeah, for a frickin' pretty penny, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think anyone that doesn't think that internet in general is a core utility, if you have a smartphone, you need to shut up.
Yeah, I mean, especially in today's society. Maybe like 10 or 12 years ago, maybe that wouldn't have been the case. But now, with everybody's got their phones, their tablets, their laptops. I'm still going. Their phones, their laptops, their tablets. Yeah, it's definitely core utility. So yeah, I buy this.
Yeah, if you think it's not, I challenge you to turn off the data on your cell phone and your iPad and everything else for a week. You will pull your hair out.
Oh, my data has been off all week. I do want to pull my hair out sometimes.
But why has it been off? I'm just curious.
I reached my limit.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife hit her limit the other day because I have a block on both phones once I hit a certain limit. So.
Oh, I wish I could do that with my plan, but I can't.
I can do it. You can do it on your phone.
Not on mine.
You have an iPhone?
Yes.
Yeah, it sucks to be you.
Well, they don't really. They try to stick it to the provider more so than the consumer.
Yeah.
So
the Galaxy S5 is what we both have. I can actually go into the internet settings and I can set a warning indicator. So when I hit a certain megabytes, it hits a warning and it lets you know. And then when you hit a certain one, it'll shut it off for hitting the threshold.
Oh, see, I get those from AT&T. Though the provider sends me those, and then I have the ability to go and go on the provider, and I can turn off the data to a phone from the provider, if I need be. But I got myself into a pretty sweet deal where I have 60 gigabytes of data.
Oh wow!
So
I have 3.
Well, I had 20, and then AT&T did this thing where it's like a year ago when the iPhone 6 came out, they're like special double promotion, like double your data for the same price. So my 20 went to 40, and then they did the rollover data. So I end up with about 60 gigs of data to use every month. So
awesome.
I've hit 60 on my phone.
That's nuts.
Well, tethering at work and downloading stuff at work when I really should just be waiting until I get home.
All right. Moving on to the next one, we have the DC Comics Batmobile is now protected by copyright in the Court of Appeals. Does this surprise you, Eddie?
I think what's more shocking about this, on a tangent, that the Batmobile is protected by copyright, but that the Happy Birthday song is no longer protected.
I think it's funny that that's now in public domain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I thought it was stupid a company owned it, but
I thought it was just owned by 2 people.
I think it was owned by Warner Brothers.
I think wasn't Mildred and Patty Hill?
I don't know.
Warner Brothers buy it from them.
I think Warner Brothers bought it, but I think it's kind of ridiculous that people or a corporation owned it. I think that would have had to have been public domain from the get-go.
Yeah.
I can see the Batmobile, though, because that's definitely like
It's an iconic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. Are you saying the Batmobile is more iconic than the Happy Birthday song?
No. I'm saying that the Happy Birthday song should have been in public domain from the get-go. I'm saying the Batmobile should be copywritten to the,
It'll be public domain eventually.
Well, yeah, everything does.
Yeah.
Take that, Happy Birthday. We should just sing it right now. No, just kidding.
Nice.
Right under the limit. Star Trek Virtual Tour will recreate every deck of the USS Enterprise D.
I like this. Especially because in this article it notes that, while it's still just a hobby that a fan's doing, that if it's successful enough, he'll recreate like other environments like Deep Space Nine, which I'm all about because I love Deep Space Nine. So
is this for like Oculus and stuff, or what is this? Just
it's recreating the worlds in game engines. I guess I don't know why they're reproducing it. They're just doing it all digitally. Doesn't say anything about Oculus, but if this was for Oculus, this would be spectacular.
Are they making the Google Street View of the
Enterprise
bridges? Is that what they're doing?
They're doing the entire ship, like every deck and every area, but I don't know.
If it is Oculus, that'd be something, because I don't know if you guys saw that Star Wars like virtual tour thing where they had the planet from the new movie. That was pretty cool. It's on Facebook.
I saw the article. I just didn't look at it, but
right. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right, moving on. Since that was going off, I'm going to find something more ingenuitive than that, but for now that works. Supergirl gives the first look at Red Tornado.
This looks really stupid. I'm just going to say it.
I can't judge it until I actually see it in action.
Right.
I'm one of the people that also said the same thing about Apocalypse for the new X-Men movie. Like great, you showed me a still taken from a camera, not the way it looks in the movie.
Yeah.
So I have to imagine that that's what this is too. My other second thought was, oh great, it's Apocalypse as a Red character.
Right? Yeah, yeah. I had a similar thought. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, but this first look here, just if we're just going by this picture, it looks pretty dumb. I mean, you pair this with Diggle's new outfit in Arrow, and they're off to a great start this season.
Well, apparently Diggle's costume is reminiscent of another DC character that I can't remember the name of right now.
Well, he looked like Magneto on the helmet, but
Yeah, but there's a DC character. Oh my gosh, I brought it up in my Facebook chat with my Geek Stuff guys, and Danner fired back with who it was supposed to be, and I can't remember.
somebody will give it to you in the comments.
Yeah.
No, but I think if we're judging by this picture, it looks rather silly. But if in action it looks great, then it'll look great.
Isn't he also just supposed to be a cyborg?
He's supposed to be an android.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like DC's version of
Vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have done better with the face then.
Yeah, I kind of thought so too. It just looks like a dude wearing red face paint.
Yeah, and also
And it looks
it's on
like
a TV budget.
the armor looks really shitty. Like it looks like somebody's got that rough fabric and then just took some like poking pins and then like stuck it in there so that it moves.
And it's also on a TV budget. So
I mean, I understand it's on a TV budget, but the Supergirl costume at least looked better than this. But again, it's not with the special effects of the show, so who knows? This may just be the raw. I mean, obviously it's raw, but I mean it.
Right. Well, we'll just like we've been saying, we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, reading the article, I think they might be mixing two characters into one here.
They are. They're mixing the creator of Red Tornado and Red Tornado himself.
The other thing here too with me, my experience with Red Tornado is limited to the cartoons, so and most DC stuff is limited to the cartoons, so I don't have any like.
That's the same here.
They've got it all wrong. Like,
yeah. I mean, I don't know that much about Red Tornado. I mean, my experience with Red Tornado is the cartoon and the Smallville comic, in which after Tess Mercer dies, she comes back as Red Tornado, and it was pretty cool. But yeah, that's my experience with Red Tornado. So I can't say if it's comics accurate or if it's the way it's supposed to be. But I'm sure it'll be fine. Right?
Right.
Is it going to stop you from watching Supergirl?
No, of course not.
Okay.
No. I've seen the pilot, and it's pretty good.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Moving on, this was actually one that you brought up earlier, Tim. The Batman the Animated Series pre-orders with the art.
Yeah, this looks really cool. I mean, I wasn't able to grab the last Batman Animated Series complete set, so maybe I'll get this one. I mean, probably not, because it's probably like super, super expensive, but I love the art that they've got. The one that I really like is the Grey Ghost one, because I just love that episode. So, yeah. I mean, if I had the money to drop on this, which I probably won't because Mondo stuff is super pricey, and that's putting it lightly. But yeah, I'd like to get this.
I mean, it looks really awesome. I really like the art. I would love to have the art hanging up in my room on the wall, but
yeah,
there's no way I could afford that.
No. It'd probably be like $150, like $175 minimum, because Mondo just is notorious for having super pricey stuff, and not to mention, if you actually get it, is even less likely.
That, and I'm saving up for the Batman the Animated Series Batmobile that I can put the newer figures in.
Nice. Priorities, Steve. Priorities.
Yes, priorities. Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3 opening sequence released.
I have not seen this yet, but it's also Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I don't really have high hopes.
Right. I mean, this opening sequence was really good. I mean, I really liked it. I mean,
It's probably the best thing we've seen from S.H.I.E.L.D. so far.
The opening of season 2 was really good. So, I mean,
there we go.
Yeah, that's true. They always start on a high note and then it goes downhill until a movie comes out.
Yeah, and even then, it's just really, really forced. But
except Age of Ultron did not do for season 2 what Captain America 2 did for season 1.
No, it did not. Well, they didn't have time because when Age of Ultron came out, they had I think maybe 2 episodes left, so they didn't have time to do a build up. And even the connection that they had in that season was more reminiscent of the connection between Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Thor: The Dark World.
I feel like
they set up Age of Ultron.
Yeah, and I feel like they had more time. I think they had the same amount of time to deal with the ramifications of Age of Ultron.
There was 4 episodes after or 5 episodes after.
Yeah, they just didn't. They just didn't.
Yeah.
They were too busy doing the Inhumans junk.
That time's too short. Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to seeing it, but I'm probably going to end up. This is going to be one of those ones I watched the first half during Christmas break, and then I watched the other half after there's nothing to watch for the summer.
Right. This is not going to be a. I mean, the season 3 opener. I mean, looks good. I mean, the visual effects look great. I mean, seeing Skye say "I'm Daisy" was great, but overall, I think I'm probably not going to do this as a weekly sojourn. It'll probably just be something I catch up, because that's how I did season 2. Is I caught up right before Christmas, and then watched it the second half weekly. But
I did that with Gotham.
And I have not watched Gotham since the pilot, so that says something.
And I was in my attempt to find something to watch at work right now. Well, there is no new TV, because it's all starting this week. I almost was like, oh, maybe I can finish season 1 of Gotham. I'm so glad I didn't do that.
I just watched season 2, episode 1, and it's actually pretty good.
Well, that's nice.
The villains are coming together.
With no Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
And they got the Batcave, though.
What?
Anyways.
I'm just putting that there.
Didn't the timer go off?
Seeds.
You're not helping that show.
I know.
Oh, boy.
Daddy left a note. Moving on. Wesley Snipes says Blade conversations with Marvel are going well, which I don't know if Marvel would actually produce one of those.
It would be a Netflix thing.
Yeah,
I can totally see it happening, though.
Okay, as a series, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. If he was going to play Blade in the series, that would be cool.
He's doing TV work now, so it wouldn't be a stretch for him to do a Netflix series with Blade.
Yeah, I see this more of a Netflix thing than a movie, because Blade doesn't exactly fit with the tone of Marvel's movies that, like the Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man, and all those movies. So I could see this as a Netflix. Maybe there's been talk that Wesley Snipes would play Blade as kind of a mentor role and the Whistler role, and his daughter would be the vampire hunter, which I kind of like that better.
Well, what's interesting about this, if we think about this, take the long view here, right? If you keep Wesley Snipes as Blade, that means that all 3 of the Blade movies automatically get put into the MCU. And then you have Ryan Reynolds playing Hannibal King, but yet he's also Deadpool? What? But Deadpool's not part of the MCU, so...
Mind blown. It actually kind of makes sense if they did take it as the Netflix series, because if you think about it, Daredevil and Punisher were both movies, and now they're going to be TV shows. I mean, obviously Daredevil is the TV show, but they're going to spin off Punisher eventually.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So if they had all of these, and then it would only be a matter of time before Ghost Rider or something would come to Netflix TV.
Because Marvel owns Ghost Rider, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they picked them up when they got Blade, Daredevil, and Punisher back. So,
right, okay. I was just a little unsure about that. It's just so hard to keep track of what Marvel owns and what they don't.
It's a lot easier to keep track of what they've received back from another studio than it is to figure out what they still have.
Basically, if it's Fantastic Four Fantastic Four, Galactus, or Mutants, it belongs to Fox. If it's Namor, it belongs to Universal,
which is retarded.
And
Marvel.
then there's the Hulk situation, which just is so convoluted and confusing.
Well, that's like the deal they have going on with Spider-Man right now.
Yeah,
it's on lease.
Well, Marvel still owns the character of Hulk, but if there's a standalone Hulk movie, Universal has to distribute it.
Yeah.
So,
which Disney can't have. So there we go.
So yeah, that takes us through the 10-minute blitz, which was like 15, 16 minutes. So,
boo math.
Boo. Yeah, I hate math.
Math is hard.
Who counts anyway?
It's overrated. Give me my calculator.
Where's my damn calculator? So I guess jumping into the gaming bit for a minute, because there's only 2 things on it before we go to break. Apparently, because now they fixed Arkham Knight for the PC, but only partially fixed it. They've now added Christian Bale Batman to it.
That's pretty cool.
Or in process of adding him.
I saw that game for $40 the other day, and I realized I have no desire to play that game now.
Not even if you can drive the tumbler?
Nope.
I'm still holding with my original reservation for the game, and that I'm going to wait until there's a Game of the Year edition with everything built in, and then I'm going to buy it.
I mean, that one I'm still interested in, but at the same point, it's like, I don't know.
If you're getting it for console, you're pretty much set. But if you're getting it for the PC, you're just screwed.
Yeah. Happens.
I still want it, even though I know how the story plays out because I watched it on YouTube the week it came out, knowing I wasn't going to be buying the game. But I would still play it, even though I've heard the mechanics for the driving of the Batmobile are stupidly retarded on how it runs. Just because it doesn't handle well, it doesn't turn very well.
I could tell that just by watching trailers.
I could too, by how everybody's rear end of the Batmobile was swerving off and smacking a building. I like how they got the Keaton Batman and Batmobile on there for the first time, and I like how they got the Bale and the Tumbler, and then they've got some of the other versions of Batman in there. But again, I'm just going to wait for the Game of the Year edition, and then I'll pick it up.
And on that Game of the Year edition, they'll probably have the Batman versus Superman Batmobile. So there you go.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. I do hear rumblings of a Superman video game. They have a secret. They have a secret game in the works by Nolan that has Nolan North playing Superman, and it's by one of the other code names of Warner Brothers Montreal.
I've waited so long for a Superman video game, and hopefully there'll be a good one.
You know, I don't feel like I feel like the Superman Returns video game that came out in 2006 for like the 360 and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I feel like, and that one was made by EA. I feel like that one had the right idea on how to handle a Superman game. And I'm not saying it was good, but what they did is because Superman doesn't have a health bar, they gave a health bar to the city.
Yeah.
And that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And they made it like this giant open world thing back before open world had really like taken off in any meaningful. Like, I mean, you had like Grand Theft Auto, and that was it.
No, it was a solid game. I really liked it.
So I mean, I only played the demo for it, but I liked the idea of the city having a health bar. And after playing games like Infamous and stuff like that on the PS3, which are open world superhero games, I would like to see that same mechanic. And if Warner Brothers Montreal or even Rocksteady can knock that one out of the park. Even like, I feel like there was a rumor going around not too long ago too, like a couple years ago, about a Justice League game being put together. And I thought it'd be interesting to just have not Batman, but Superman be like a bonus stage character that you would play as. So they wouldn't have to necessarily like craft an entire game around him with his mechanics, but just like certain levels.
Right.
Or just missions for him to deal with. But yeah, I would like to see that, and I just thought that Superman Returns game had the best idea on how to handle the guy that can't be hurt at all. So
I would like to see it. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but
yeah,
I would like to see it regardless.
People were skeptical about the Arkham games too.
That is true. I mean, I'm not going to like count it out because I've loved the Arkham games.
I don't know if I want to go on record as saying this or not, but I'm of the opinion. I've said something similar to this before in the past. I'm fairly certain the only one of the reasons the Arkham games got the press they did was because of the voice actors that were chosen.
But in doing so, they proved that Warner Brothers and Rocksteady can make a kick-ass Batman game.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know that people would have paid attention.
You're probably right. I'm not going to lie. That's one of the main draws for me, but it was also because I saw the gameplay, and I was like, that's just spectacular.
But why did you check it out? Probably because
it's Batman.
Voice acting. Well, okay.
I like Batman first and foremost. The voice actor came second after seeing the gameplay.
We all know on Altered Geek Unleashed how I feel about the voice acting in the Arkham games. So
yeah, I know. You're not a fan of Kevin Conroy on those games.
No.
Not that you don't like him.
I like Batman. Him as Batman.
Just not as that Batman.
Not as Arkham Batman. So.
And then, of course, they have the other video game thing that's been floating around the internet over the last week. Video game voice actors are proposing a strike.
Well, when all your work is getting taken over by Nolan North and Troy Baker, sure. No, I for one, I don't know. Yeah, they should be paid for what they do because it's kind of important. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, like Destiny with Destiny 2.0 or the year 2 stuff, like Bungie and Activision paid to have all the voice work that Peter Dinklage did re-recorded by Nolan North.
And gave us subpar.
Yeah, Nolan North is amazing as the Ghost in Destiny. Like, there's like one, although there is one line that my friends and I feel like Dinklage delivered better, but one line out of an entire game's worth of dialogue, I would rather have Nolan North say that one line unsatisfactory than have all of Peter Dinklage's voice. And then also the other game that I've been playing is Metal Gear Solid 5, and that was known for, they took the voice actor who's been the voice of Solid Snake.
David Hayter.
He's been the voice of Snake since Snake had a voice, which was almost 20 years ago. And with Metal Gear Solid 5, for whatever reason, Kojima decided to make it Kiefer Sutherland.
That's stupid.
And he has like almost no dialogue in the entire game that I've seen so far. So it's like you paid to have this guy do this work, and he's like not even like. And I'm not saying Kiefer's bad, like as the voice, but it's like
they wasted the talent,
or they wasted the money.
That too.
I don't think it's a waste of talent because I think he does just fine. It's just they wasted the money because Hayter should have been the voice of that character.
He's always been the voice of that character, so it would have made sense to leave him there.
Yep.
It's just iconic.
Even when he played this, I mean, even Hayter played this character. I mean, you're not playing a Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid 5, so yeah, maybe you could get a different voice actor, but Hayter voiced this character but Hayter voiced the character that you're playing as in 5 in Metal Gear Solid 3. So he should have still been the character. So I retweeted David Hayter's thing about the dear actors and gamers, please retweet if you agree that performance matters. I did retweet that because I thought Hayter should have been the voice of Snake again. But no, I think
agree with you.
should be. I think voice acting in gaming is becoming increasingly important. And
Well, yeah, because I mean, how are you going to tell the story if you don't have, believable vocals to go along with it?
well, not only that, some of these things, like Nolan North, it depends on the studio because, like Naughty Dog, it's not just guys. Like their cutscenes aren't just people standing behind a microphone, reading a script. They are doing the mocap work too, acting out the performances that are in those cutscenes while still delivering their lines. Like they are actually acting like you should be paid as an actor because you are actually acting, not just like reading a script. And that goes for like everybody. I'm not saying there's like a difference between the two, but one is definitely more physical than the other. So I don't want them to go on strike because I don't want any of my games to be delayed.
Which I agree with you.
And that's the issue at hand.
But then I have to go, okay, what games would be delayed that I actually care about? So, like, I don't see any of the actors the voice actors that I'm concerned about. I don't see them in this list, other than David Hayter. Like, I don't see them mention Nolan North or Troy Baker.
Probably just because they just are the go-tos.
Yeah, they're the ones getting paid.
Yeah, the other ones are like, I think it's also because they're trying to get the fact that it's grown, it's boomed, and in the fact that they get no royalties or bonuses, and then the fact that they have to do stressful screaming for hours on end when their characters meet some kind of a doom. So it's trauma on their voice. So
Right, yeah. That makes sense.
I definitely agree, though, that voice acting makes a big deal. And, I mean, whoever's doing it, it just makes a big deal in your game if they're, good or not.
I'm just wondering if this is like... See, the others two... I see EA and Activision being mentioned here.
So maybe specific studios that are being a royal pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Which, doesn't Activision own EA?
No.
Or they just do a lot of work together, maybe.
No,
or
they don't do any work together. They're competing.
See, that's why we need a gamer on the show.
They are.
I don't know shit.
They are like two sides of the same coin. Like Battlefield and Call of Duty are the ones that go back and forth.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah,
like
I played Battlefield, so.
So, and like EA had Rock Band, while Activision had Guitar Hero. Basically, for every game that Activision has, EA has a version of said game by a different studio, and they just try to outspend each other. So yeah.
Sounds good. So with that, we'll be right back after this quick break.
Welcome to the Wicked Radio Network.
Want to interact with the show? You can contact us in the following ways. You can call the voicemail line 502-526-5821. You can email us feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can visit the episode post on geekcastradio.com or alteredgeek.com. You can get a hold of us on Twitter @alteredgeek. Look for us every week on geekcastradio.com, of course, Stitcher Smart Radio, iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, and alteredgeek.com. And now, back to the show.
And we're back with, well, the last part of the conversation for the night. We're going to talk Gotham.
Yay! Whoa.
Yay or nay, depending on your point of view. Well, I noticed that they brought the Court of Owls mention in, that they're going to try and pull this into the continuity now because it's in New 52.
That one almost makes sense though, right? Because I mean, I don't know much about the Court of Owls, but I feel like it's like an older thing than Bruce Wayne. So
Yeah, because they're supposed to be around for hundreds of years.
so I feel like that one makes sense.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, as I've not watched Gotham, I can't really comment. But it's just another villain to add to the list that comes to Gotham before Batman.
Well, that's why I think this one's okay, because they're around. Like the League of Shadows was a thing before there was a Batman.
Sure, yeah.
Like I feel like the villains they've brought up already are like, you know, we see them early on in their careers. It's almost like they should be locked up for like petty crime, and instead of being thrown in an insane asylum for being driven insane by the bat.
Right.
Whereas like the Court of Owls or like the League of Shadows, like those guys, you know, they were around long before there was a Batman. So he didn't create them. He just became a problem for them. So finally, I guess I'll go out on a limb and say finally something that makes sense with Gotham.
I will say that the other villains that are in the show, though, they've actually had them naturally, mentally breaking down on their own as season 1 progressed.
But
when they revisit,
but see, but if they're slowly digressing, like
they don't need Batman to drive them nuts. In other words,
well, but not even that. Like,
Yeah.
at what point during their slow digression do we just decide, okay, they need to be like put away now and treated versus like trying to lock them up and treat them when they're already like gone?
well, most of them are in jail. Like Black Mask is in jail, which it's actually Black Mask's dad or whatever, but that's how they've described it.
You're making me not
that-
want to watch this show, Steve.
Well, the kid that they're insinuating is the Joker, even though they keep posting these dumbass articles. And I'm sorry for just dropping it like that, but they keep making these websites keep getting clickbait. Like, oh, could so-and-so be the Joker on Gotham? Even though it's like pretty obvious who's going to play the Joker.
Who?
It's that Jerome kid from the Carnival episode.
Wasn't he in like the pilot or something?
No, he wasn't in the pilot. He was in it. They made you think somebody from the Red Hood gang was going to be the Joker, and then it wasn't. And then they had this carnival, and it's this redheaded kid that's got like this creepy smile, and he's always laughing. And
Okay, yeah, he's the guy. I almost wanted to start when I saw him. I almost wanted to start watching Gotham again because he's on a TV show that I actually like called Shameless.
he's actually in the first episode of season 2, and he's like playing the kind of sarcastic, creepy, jokey conversation back and forth with all the other inmates at Arkham, like being annoying, like the Joker would be. So and Barbara Keene is they're like saying, because that's Barbara Gordon basically, but they're trying to say that she's, you know, oh, could she be the Joker? Could the Penguin be the Joker? Could so and so be the Joker? Like they're just.
Could Batman be the Joker?
I'm just so sick of seeing clickbait like that.
I still just can't get past. I just wish this show
Didn't exist?
No, I'll just say what I've always said about this show since it was announced. I wanted this show to be like Boardwalk Empire, but in the Batman universe. Like,
I like the idea of a Gotham Central show. You know, like, you know, Jim Gordon doing his thing, but not as a Batman prequel, not a Smallville, you know, for lack of a better term. I think if you have, you know, oh well, Batman's doing this over here, kind of like what they're doing with Supergirl, you know, where Superman is just kind of mentioned offhand, you know, every now and then, but never by name, but the audience knows who you're talking about. That would have been fine. I would have been okay with that show, but not as a prequel to Batman.
I feel like there's enough stuff in the Gotham before Batman that you could have done the same show. I feel like giving all these nods to the villains is just like way over on the tongue in cheek. Like, huh, we're mentioning a Batman that you're never gonna see. I feel like they could. I feel like they could have gotten around with. Because I don't know if you guys have ever seen Boardwalk Empire, but just with like the mafia stuff and the gangster stuff. Like,
sure, yeah.
Because they have those in Gotham in the Batman universe. You have Carmine Falcone and other like mob guys. I don't feel like each episode has to revolve around introducing some new villain that Batman's going to have to take out when they're old and crippled.
Yeah.
So I don't know, or maybe it would have been interesting. Maybe it could have been set in Gotham when Bruce is already gone. Like,
sure, yeah, yeah. I just don't like the anvils. That's what kind of sent it over for me in the first episode.
Or what about Bruce being old enough to be a vigilante but not yet Batman?
Like kind of like a Daredevil kind of thing.
Yeah, like he was in the first half of Batman Begins. Like, I could
see that. I could see that.
Like, because then you could do the whole Smallville thing. Like, oh, you're the Blur, like,
right? Yeah.
You're the dude in the black suit
who threatens people with a staple gun.
You're the smuggler.
Like, I just feel like they could have. There are other ways they could have done this show.
Sure,
but
yeah.
For me, what it is, it's the young Bruce. It's Bruce Wayne being in this show that kills it for me.
Yeah.
It should have just been Jim Gordon, and then Bruce is off abroad training.
Especially because do you realize how dumb this makes Batman look like when he's older? I mean, like, you grow up around all these crazy people, seeing all their tendencies, and I mean, yeah. But from what we know of Batman, he learned about these people like through detective work and stuff, right? Like as an adult, not knowing these people as he was growing up.
Not all of them, anyway.
I mean, it's.
He knows Ivy. He knows Catwoman.
And Catwoman, make no mistake about it, Catwoman is Catwoman.
Yeah, she's the only one that.
There's no transition there. She finds a way to put on tighter clothing. That's all that happens.
And she grows in certain areas.
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree. So I think that's been bludgeoned. So last week I was talking about the Nickelodeon shows and the Nickelodeon channel and, some of my favorite shows from Nickelodeon and whatnot. But so that's what the comments are this week. Justin Washington says, I psyched that Nick will be creating a channel just for 90s retro shows. I would seriously love more stuff like that. Doug was one of my all-time favorites. Rocko's Modern Life was great. Pete and Pete was so weird and cool. Real Monsters was a lot of fun. All-time favorite has to be Salute Your Shorts.
Real quick, my understanding is, well, first of all, Doug, it won't be there because that's owned by ABC Disney.
Yep.
However, my understanding is this is going to be Nickelodeon's Adult Swim.
Basically. And it's going to play all the retro stuff.
It'll start at 10 p.m. and end at like 4 or 6 a.m. So it's not going to be a separate channel.
Yeah, that's what I was reading on later after everybody was jumping on board it's going to be a channel.
So I'm wondering, like, some of the stuff you find online now with like the internet being the way that it is, people have like all the inappropriate stuff you never knew was there in your old TV shows. Like, how is this gonna fly? Like, yeah, it's on at 10 p.m. to like 6 a.m. But like, how is that gonna fly when your kid accidentally stumbles across some of this stuff? Like, would you let your kids watch Ren and Stimpy?
No. But like, like the old Kenan and Kel or all that and stuff, like I thought those were. But I mean, granted, I haven't seen those since their original airing, so.
See, the stuff I was allowed to watch on Nickelodeon was pretty much, I was allowed to watch Doug,
yep,
Rugrats, and Are You Afraid of the Dark? Everything else is pretty much off limits.
I pretty much wasn't policed on any of it. I kind of picked what I liked, and certain shows fell under that radar.
Yeah, same here. I think I pretty much watched anything on Nickelodeon. Except Ren and Stimpy, I think I wasn't allowed to watch that.
I watched that because my cousin had the video game, and my uncle really loved to do the voice of Ren. So he'd run around going like, "My ice cream bar," and I love to taste its creamy center. But
I think all my friends did the voice of Ren.
Oh, he's spot on. It was creepy. And we would play the Sega game of Ren and Stimpy.
Oh my gosh.
I remember that game well. It was terrible. So Ostron Prime says nice picks because I also did top 5 movies. Because I couldn't narrow them down, I started breaking them into categories and then doing top 5s. Which is a cop-out. This is even narrowing down your top 5 down to animated or sci-fi or 80s would still be a mountainous task. I can't pick the best 5 80s movies. There's too many good ones. Even a movie like Die Hard, I love it, and With a Vengeance probably more, yet I don't own either on DVD. Yeah.
My top 5 movies would probably be The Princess Bride, Superman the movie, The Lion King, maybe 89 Batman, and let me throw something in there. I don't know.
I'm slowly starting to realize I don't really care for anything in the 80s, like movie-wise. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, a lot of like what I can find to watch on Netflix now is like stuff from the 80s. And like I'll start it up and I'll be like, this looks like crap. And I'll stop watching.
Or this is so boring. Why did I like this?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I think apart from Star Wars and Star Trek, I think I don't watch much from the 80s.
Yep, I will give you that one.
Because they just start out so slow.
Well, you have the 10-minute intro for whatever movie it is in the 80s.
Yeah.
They play the music, they show the scenery, it bounces around, you see all the credits, goes for about 10 minutes. Then you go into the actual movie, which is about an actual hour. And then, it's just, I don't know. I like some of the movies still, but there's a lot of them I'm having a hard time watching now just because it's, times have changed in filmmaking, so it's kind of, we've gotten accustomed to that newer style, so it's just going back to the old stuff's just too difficult. But there's certain movies like Die Hard or A Lethal Weapon or Beverly Hills Cop or stuff like that I'll pick up and watch, or like Star Trek or Star Wars or whatever. But for the most part, a lot of other stuff I have a hard time watching unless it's from the 90s.
See, most of the stuff I want to watch, I'm just kind of like, someone just remake this.
It's inevitable anyway.
If someone remakes The Princess Bride, I'll kill somebody.
I don't think anyone's going to touch that movie because I don't know why they would. The one movie I want to see be remade, and I really thought we were going to get it after what was it, Escape to Witch Mountain or From Witch Mountain, the Disney movie with The Rock.
Yeah.
I was really hoping we were going to get a Flight of the Navigator.
Yeah.
I was really hoping for that, but we haven't gotten that yet.
It's probably around the corner. They're remaking everything else. And it'll probably be with The Rock, because everything's being remade with The Rock.
Well, he makes money.
It's true. He does.
I don't think The Rock would fit in the spaceship, though.
Oh, they'd build the spaceship for him.
Maybe The Rock could be the spaceship. Could The Rock save the Terminator franchise?
I think he would be really cool as a...
Like a resistance fighter.
Well, no, not even that. Like, you make him the new John Connor. Because they recast him every movie. They should just replace Arnold and put him in there. He's a new model of the Terminator.
The T-900.
Yeah, he's a T-900, so he's like the balder, buffer T-800.
I think The Rock would be the only thing that would be able to save the Terminator franchise.
Do you guys think James Cameron could save the Terminator franchise?
He created it.
Yeah, he created it, but he's not going to do anything with it though.
But he put his stamp of approval on the recent one. So
now, I'm interested to see. I don't have anything against the recent one yet because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I hear that it's getting a lot of making a lot of money overseas, so we'll probably be able to get the second one, which makes me want to see it even more. So
yeah, because if it got canceled, like the trilogy got canceled, it wouldn't be worth seeing because they do set up for a nice trilogy.
Okay.
And there are some. Have either of you seen it?
No, please don't spoil anything.
I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I wanted to, but then I read all the bad reviews and kind of
don't read the bad reviews. Just try and go in there with a clean mind, because I found it's a lot harder if you're going in with predisposed thoughts on it.
Oh, sure,
it does manage to pull and recreate pieces of the original Terminator movie, and it does have time travel, obviously, but it's the way they engineer this one. You're going to get a little bit of a mind screw, but it's a good mind screw, if that makes any sense.
Well, it's Terminator.
It's not just the twist that is in the trailer that you find out.
See, I haven't seen that yet. I mean, I hear people talk about it, and I just go la 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 la.
Yeah.
Right.
But going back to my original question, like everyone's kind of like the Terminator is not great anymore. Blah blah. Do you think?
I enjoyed it better than T3.
But do you think James Cameron could save the Terminator franchise? Like if he wanted to make another one,
I would say yes.
Or do you think it's just a product of its time?
I would say that, I mean, because Terminator 1 is more of a horror movie. Terminator 2 turned into an action flick. So
I think
it's kind of fallen into that product of its time thing where it kind of has, as time's gone on, it's kind of turned into whatever films are at that given point. So I don't know if it's necessarily like great, but I don't know if it's like bad either. It's an enjoyable shut your mind off.
Yep.
So in that sense, like it's not too overly complicated as far as some of the stuff, but if you're jumping into the time travel aspect of it, you're going to be kind of a little bit confused. Somebody actually broke down like the entire 5 movies and messed with the timeline, and it was obscene. But yeah, I would just say just watch it and kind of go with an open mind and kind of shut your brain off a little bit. And
it's a Terminator movie. That's a gift.
It's a Terminator movie. I mean, so you're going to get destruction. You're going to get Arnold.
See, I that's the thing. Like most movies, I go in like kind of knowing what I'm going to expect. Like it's a Terminator movie.
Like you're going to get time travel. You're going to get Terminators, and you're going to get a bad Terminator that comes after the Arnold Terminator.
I think that's what interests me about this newest one the most, is because I think it does the most with time travel.
Right. Oh, it jumps a couple different decades.
And that's the only other thing that's actually, the only other Terminator thing I've seen that's done that was the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Oh, I loved the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Then you probably like this.
Okay, because I'm that's one cancellation of a television show that I'm still bitter about.
Well, that was destined to happen because of Summer Glau.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that's the only TV show she's done that's gotten a second season. No, sorry, she was on Alphas very sparingly.
Wasn't she on Dollhouse?
No, that's Amy Acker.
I think Glau might have had a cameo in there.
I thought she was in the second season.
Anyway, well, I like Glau as an actress, so no one jump on me in the comments there. But
I like her too. But I mean,
when she tends to show up in a TV show,
it gets canceled.
I start watching for a cancellation notice.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, she jumped into Dollhouse in season 2, and that's when it got canceled.
Well,
so
that was, I think
that was going to get canceled anyway, though.
I think that was canceled from the get-go of season 2. That's why it ended up being the way that it was, like jumping into the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I definitely would say though, check out the new Terminator movie. It jumps like 3 or 4 different timelines.
Good.
That's pretty awesome. I definitely plan on checking it out. But going back to the original question about James Cameron, I think he could do it. You know, if maybe if he like handles it the way he's handling the Avatar sequels, kind of have someone else write it and he direct it, because that's what he's doing there. So I think. So you think?
Do you think? But do you think the Do you think the Terminator movies, good or bad, are a fault of the director or a fault of the writing?
I would say maybe a little bit of both.
Because I would say writing, because I think the directing, there's only so much you can do with the script.
I liked McKee's. I like Salvation. I really did.
Well, what I liked about that one, and I didn't like. I got to be honest, I hated it when I first saw it.
Yeah.
Because it was Christian Bale, so like he looked nothing like the previous like the previous showings of John Connor, but I also came to consider that they've changed the actor every film, so that didn't bother me after that. But
Right.
There was no time travel, but it did actually show the entire playing out of the timeline in real time, which was kind of nice.
I liked that aspect. I liked that aspect.
So I really do like the film now. So that's, I would say it's pretty strong.
My issue with that particular T3, I like the themes that it introduced. Like I like the idea that Skynet can't be beat, which I was hoping Sarah Connor Chronicles was going to hit on, and I was really excited about that. But anyway, I liked that idea. But T3 to me always felt the smallest of the Terminator movies. It just almost like at points felt like a TV movie. Like it didn't feel like large in scope like a Terminator movie needs to feel.
T3 looked like a cartoon.
It's true. and my issue with the Terminator Salvation has always been the focus on Sam Worthington's character above John Connor's. And that always bothered me about that movie.
But they were also showing that was the first time Skynet played with the kind of symbiosis of biology and technology.
That's true too.
So it kind of led that to show that was their basis for the T-800.
See, last year I went out and bought all 4 movies on Blu-ray and marathoned them all in like a weekend. And it's interesting how cohesive they actually end up being, especially with like T3 T3's departure from Terminator 2 and then Salvation. Like there are little like plot threads that they like mention in one movie. I can't think of it. I'm sorry, I can't think of anything specifically, but they're like like something will happen in like T2 or T1, and there will be a line or a reference to it in like Salvation, or something that's said in Salvation makes sense. And especially I think it was like I feel like because there's a line in Terminator 3 when he's like, I'm the guy that was going to kill you in the future. And
in T3?
Yes.
Yeah, he said something about
they used my likeness to trick you into coming to the facility to capture you. And that's what Salvation is.
Huh.
Yeah. And they said, why is that? Because I kill you.
Yep. So
And
I don't know. I like them. They're fun. I'm looking forward to watching the new one. I'm kind of bummed I didn't see it in the theater, but I took that not seeing movies in the theater. I didn't take that stance. I just took the whole like I'm only watching one and only one trailer, and I'm really glad I only watched one trailer for the Terminator 5, whatever it was. I don't remember what it's called.
I find it's a lot better now if you just don't watch the trailers.
Well, I'm fine watching like the first trailer.
Yeah, well, Terminator gives away everything in the first trailer anyway.
Actually, it's the second trailer that gives.
Or that's what I meant.
Away.
Yeah, I only saw that first teaser. Like,
yeah,
that was the only trailer I saw.
That's the one that hooked me, because they're like, oh, they're redoing shots from the first movie. I'm in.
You know why they did that?
I mean, I have a theory, but it's set there, isn't it?
Well, no, that's how they tie into the original movie through that particular event. But what the deal is with that is because another studio owns the rights to that film, they couldn't reuse the original footage, so they had to recreate the entire scene.
It looks like they did a really good job.
Yeah, I know.
Just from the trailer, anyways.
Right. No, but I really want to see the movie too. Because Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles, the television show, was kind of my gateway into the Terminator franchise. Like, I'd never seen a Terminator movie before then, and I've enjoyed each. I mean, I have issues with each film, but I've still enjoyed them. They're still fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing the new one.
Alrighty, so that covers everything this episode. Is there anything you guys would like to promote before we go?
You can check out my podcast, Geek Stuff Garagecast. It's on iTunes. Just look for Geek Stuff Garagecast, or you can go to geekstuffgaragecast.com. and find the latest episode there. We're switching to a bi-monthly schedule, a bi-weekly schedule for the fall, since all my co-hosts and everything we're all busy. So yeah, you can check that out.
And I like to promote my website. If you just like to check it out, it's Marvel Movie Talk, where I talk about all things that are related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe films. The Iron Man's, the Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy, those movies, and has a Facebook page, which is also facebook.com/Marvel Movie Talk, where you'll see all the news. The website's kind of in a drought with no trailer and pretty much no news as far as the Marvel side goes, but definitely hope you guys check that out.
Real quick.
What's that?
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just gonna say you just check it out at marvelmovietalk.wordpress.com or facebook.com/marvelmovietalk.
Okay, now sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I want to ask you something real quick because I didn't realize that was like your jam.
Totally my jam.
I'm just curious because I love continuity. I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the Marvel Cinematic timeline do you think Guardians of the Galaxy fits?
That's such a weird thing, because when I first saw the movie, I could have sworn that when they do 1988, that it said 30 years later, and that it's 2018, like right before Infinity War, which I loved that idea. It takes place right before then, and I loved that idea. But then when I saw the movie on Blu-ray, it said like 26 years later, and that puts it at 2014. So in my headcanon, I always like to imagine that it's like right before the Infinity War stuff. Like it's like I think that Guardians 2 is gonna have something to do with the Time Infinity Stone, the Time Gem, and that's gonna play a part into it. I'm not explaining myself well, but I to answer your question, I'm not sure.
I always saw it as taking place after Avengers.
Oh,
as a epilogue to the Phase 1.
Well, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree it's after Avengers.
But before I think it takes place before Iron Man 3 as well.
Yeah, see, the timeline of the Marvel Cinematic Universe has always been something that's kind of evaded me. Is because it just almost doesn't make sense, the timeline stuff, because all of Phase 1 is supposed to take place over the course of a year.
Yeah,
and Phase 2 I'm a little hazy on.
Well, Phase 2 has a lot of time spans in it.
Yeah, it does.
There's like Kevin Feige just said, like Iron Man takes place like a year after Avengers.
Yeah,
and then Cap 2 is supposed to take place a year after Iron Man 3. And then Thor is just somewhere in there, and then you have Guardians, and then Age of Ultron. That's why, and I don't know. I always thought Guardians was just more of a watch that. When I marathon them, I always watch Guardians after I watch Avengers.
Right. Whenever I marathon them, I usually just marathon them in order, because if you want to do it in chronological order, you just get lost. You just get all confused. Do I watch this one first? Do I watch first Avenger before I watched Iron Man, or do I watch? I
would start there, because that's the earliest movie in the timeline.
Right. But I normally watch them in movie order. And the thing about continuity in Phase 2, like as far as timeline goes, the one thing that confuses me is when at the end of Age of Ultron, Thor, when he's talking about the Mind Stone, says it's the fourth of the Infinity Stones that have shown up in the last few years. That always confuses me, because I'm like, wait a minute, okay.
But isn't the cube like? Didn't that gem come from the cube?
The Mind Stone, the one that's Vision's had?
No, that came from the scepter.
Yes.
Okay, I lost track of the cube in Age of Ultron.
Okay, the cube is the Space Stone. The
right.
cube is in Asgard right now.
Okay.
That's where it's at. The Power Stone, the one from Guardians, obviously the Nova Corps got. The Mind Stone is on Vision's head, and the Collector has the Reality Stone, the one from Thor 2.
Okay.
Yeah. And Kevin Feige has said the only two we haven't done are Time and Soul. And they've not said which movie they'll appear in. Me personally, I think Doctor Strange is going to have the Reality Stone, the Soul Stone, because that just fits with Doctor Strange. And that either Guardians 2 or Thor 3 will have the Last Stone.
I think since it's Thor Ragnarok, and there was some big arc that we missed out on for Thor in Ultron, he might have the Time Stone. Since it looked like he was being able to see in the future in the first place.
That's interesting. Because I just really don't know.
Right. No. Yeah. I was just more curious because I like to have the whole where do you think these events take place in the picture as a whole, and Guardians is the one that always just kind of throws people for a loop because it could be anything, because people are just like, well, he had at the end of Thor Ragnarok, he still had his stuff. So the Collector still had his palace, but it's he's the Collector. He probably has more than one palace.
Right. I mean, and who's to say that's not before that time? And also, I mean, when his place was messed up, did the Reality Stone get messed up too? Where is that now?
Yep.
It's just so many questions. But I love these. I love these debates. So. What makes it all fun.
So that's it.
Okay.
Alrighty. And the only thing I've got is recently the show has been syndicated by Wicked Radio Network.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yes. So on top of that, you can also find the show on Blog Talk Radio, Stitcher, iTunes, and Geekcast Radio. So, yes. Alrighty, and the listeners can interact with you guys where on?
You can find me, Michael Powers, on Twitter at Boothninja81.
You can find me on Twitter at Mighty_Tim.
And I'm at SCP21. So until next time, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks.